Imagine sitting inside a very small capsule and going deep into the ocean, deeper than any human diver can ever go. On June 18th, 2023, early in the morning, 5 people entered a deep-sea vehicle called Titan. Their mission was to see something very famous and mysterious: the wreck of the Titanic. The Titanic was a giant ship that sank more than 100 years ago. Millions of people know its story through books and movies, but very few people have actually seen it with their own eyes. These 5 passengers wanted to experience that history up close. This journey was not normal tourism. It was known as extreme adventure tourism, and it was extremely expensive. Each person paid millions of rupees just to spend a few hours underwater. The reason for such a high cost was simple. The Titanic is hidden very deep inside the ocean. The wreck of the Titanic lies around 3,800 meters below the surface of the sea. That is almost 4 kilometers deep. To reach this depth, the Titan submersible needed about 2 hours of travel underwater. While going down, Titan stayed connected with a support ship floating on the sea above. This ship was called Polar Prince. Every 15 minutes, Titan sent a message to this ship to confirm that everything was working fine. This text-based system was the only way the people inside Titan could communicate with the outside world. But on that day, something unexpected happened. After about 1 hour and 45 minutes, Titan suddenly stopped sending messages. The support ship tried to contact it again and again, but there was no reply. Even then, the team hoped that the submersible would return safely. According to the plan, Titan was supposed to come back to the surface by 4:30 p.m. But when that time arrived, there was no sign of it. The ocean remained silent. The crew on the support ship waited for some time. When nothing happened, they finally informed the U.S. Coast Guard at 7:10 p.m. From that moment, a massive search operation began. Aircraft flew over the ocean, ships searched the surface, and underwater robots were sent deep below. Everyone around the world was asking the same question: what happened to the 5 people inside Titan? Before understanding the accident, it is important to know where this happened. The Titan disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean, close to Canada. The Titanic wreck is located about 600 kilometers away from a Canadian island called Newfoundland. Deep on the ocean floor, the Titanic lies broken into 2 main pieces. The front part and the back part are separated and resting far away from each other, surrounded by complete darkness. Many people called Titan a submarine, but that is not fully correct. Titan was actually a submersible. These 2 words sound similar, but they are different. A submarine has its own power and can go in and out of the sea by itself. A submersible cannot do that. A submersible always needs a support ship to launch it into the water and to bring it back. In this case, that support ship was Polar Prince, which controlled the entire mission from the surface. This deep-sea expedition was run by a private company called OceanGate. The founder and CEO of this company was Stockton Rush. His name is very important in this story and will appear again later. Stockton Rush was an engineer who founded OceanGate in 2009. His dream was to take wealthy tourists deep into the ocean and show them places that very few humans had ever seen before. OceanGate started offering trips to the Titanic in 2021. Before that, the company had done underwater tours to other locations. However, the Titanic expedition was the most famous and also the most dangerous. OceanGate had more than one underwater vehicle, but Titan was special. Other submersibles could only go a few hundred meters deep. Titan, however, was designed to go 4,000 meters underwater. That is why it was the only submersible capable of reaching the Titanic. To understand how dangerous this depth is, think about this. Sunlight disappears, the water becomes freezing cold, and the pressure becomes extremely strong. At the depth where the Titanic lies, the pressure is hundreds of times greater than the pressure we feel on land. Any machine going that deep must be strong, carefully designed, and very safe. But the big question remains, was Titan really safe enough? To understand what really went wrong with Titan, we must first understand how deep the Titanic wreck is and why this depth is so dangerous. As we go deeper into the ocean, the environment changes very fast. Near the surface, there is sunlight and warmth. But slowly, the light fades away and the water becomes darker and colder. At around 3,800 meters deep, where the Titanic lies, no sunlight can reach it all. The water temperature here is close to 4 degrees Celsius, which is extremely cold. However, the most dangerous thing at this depth is the pressure. The pressure here is almost 400 times greater than the pressure on land. This much pressure can crush almost anything that is not designed perfectly. Because of this extreme pressure, only very strong and carefully built machines can survive at such depths. This brings us to the design of the Titan Submersible. Titan was a small underwater vehicle with space for only 5 people. The inside was very cramped, with no proper seats. The passengers had to sit on the floor during the entire journey. There was only one small window, called a viewport, through which they could look outside. This window had to be very thick and strong to survive the pressure. In fact, Titan's viewport was one of the largest ever used in a private submersible. The main body of Titan, known as the hull, was made of carbon fiber, while the 2 ends were sealed with titanium caps. The submersible was about 6.7 meters long and weighed more than 10,000 kilograms. On the outside, Titan had 4 electric thrusters that helped it move forward, backward, up, and down in the water. One of the most surprising features of Titan was how it was controlled. Instead of traditional control panels, it was operated using a video game controller. The pilot inside the submersible used this controller to guide Titan underwater. While the company said this was safe, many experts were uncomfortable with such a simple control system being used in such a dangerous environment. Inside Titan, there was also a small toilet placed near the window. There was no wall or door around it. If someone needed to use it, the others had to turn away and look at a screen. This showed how limited and uncomfortable the space inside really was. Communication was another major challenge. Deep underwater, GPS does not work. Titan could not make phone calls or use normal internet. It could only send simple text messages to the support ship on the surface. This slow and limited system was the only way to communicate with the outside world. On the day of the dive, there were 5 people inside Titan. One of them was Hamish Harding, a 58-year-old British billionaire who loved extreme adventures. He had broken world records, visited the South Pole, and even traveled to space on a private mission. Another passenger was Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a 77-year-old French expert who had spent most of his life studying the Titanic. He had visited the wreck many times before and was considered one of the most experienced people for such a journey. The 3rd and 4th passengers were Shahzada Dawood, a businessman of Pakistani origin, and his 19-year-old son, Suleiman. Shahzada was very successful, while Suleiman was young and nervous about the trip. According to family members, Suleiman was actually scared of going, but he joined the dive to support his father. The 5th person inside Titan was Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate. He was not just managing the company from the outside. He was also inside the submersible during this risky mission. At first, the dive seemed normal. Titan sent messages to the support ship every 15 minutes, showing that everything was working. But suddenly, at around 11:15 a.m., all communication stopped. No messages, no signals, and no response. Even after losing contact, people still hoped that Titan would return safely. The submersible had systems that could help it rise back to the surface in case of problems. However, when 4:30 p.m. passed and Titan did not return, serious concern began to spread. Time now became the biggest enemy. Titan had only about 96 hours of oxygen available. This meant rescue teams had just 4 days to find the submersible and save the people inside, if they were still alive. And with that, a desperate race against time began. After Titan did not return on time, the situation became very serious. Rescue teams knew they had very little time. The biggest problem was that Titan had only 96 hours of oxygen. That meant the people inside could survive for just 4 days. The search area was huge, about 25,000 square kilometers. Finding a small submersible in such a large area was like trying to find a needle in a giant ocean. The rescue operation involved many countries. Ships searched the surface of the sea. Aircraft flew above, using special tools to listen for sound from underwater. Robotic vehicles, called ROVs, were sent deep into the ocean. These robots had cameras and lights and were controlled from the surface. During the search, something strange happened. Some aircraft detected banging sounds underwater. These sounds were heard every few minutes, like someone knocking. This gave people hope. Many thought that the passengers inside Titan were alive and asking for help. Because of this, the rescue teams worked even harder. Everyone around the world was watching the news and praying for good news. But sadly, that hope did not last long. On June 22nd, an underwater robot finally found debris on the ocean floor, not far from the Titanic wreck. The pieces were broken parts of the Titan submersible. Soon after, the U.S. Coast Guard confirmed the worst news. Titan had been destroyed. Experts explained that Titan did not slowly break down. Instead, it suffered a catastrophic implosion. You may be wondering, what is an implosion? An explosion happens when something bursts outward, but an implosion is the opposite. It happens when something is crushed inward due to extreme pressure. At the depth where Titan was traveling, the water pressure was unbelievably strong. When Titan's structure failed, the pressure crushed it instantly. This happened so fast that it took less than a blink of an eye. Because of this, the people inside Titan likely did not feel pain. It ended immediately. Now the big question is, why did Titan fail? Experts believe the main reason was the material used in its design. Titan's main body was made of carbon fiber. This material is light and strong, but it behaves differently under deep-sea pressure. Most deep-sea vehicles are made from steel or titanium, which are proven materials for such conditions. Carbon fiber had never been fully tested at such extreme depths. Over time, repeated dives may have weakened Titan's structure. Small cracks could have formed inside the hull, invisible from the outside. Eventually, the pressure became too much. Many experts had warned about this risk years earlier. Some engineers and ocean experts had sent emails and letters to Stockton Rush, warning him that Titan needed proper safety testing and certification. They said the design was risky and could lead to disaster. But these warnings were ignored. In interviews, Stockton Rush openly said that he believed safety rules slowed innovation. He believed that taking risks was necessary to achieve big goals. Sadly, this mindset proved to be dangerous. After the accident, famous explorers like James Cameron also spoke out. He said that this tragedy reminded him of the Titanic disaster itself, where overconfidence and ignored warnings led to loss of life. In a painful way, history repeated itself. The Titan tragedy teaches us an important lesson. Technology and adventure are exciting, but safety must always come first. Rules and testing exist for a reason, to protect human lives. Ignoring safety may save time or money, but it can cost lives. This story is not just about a submersible. It is about human choices, responsibility, and respect for nature. The deep ocean is powerful and unforgiving. It does not forgive mistakes. In the end, the Titan disaster reminds us of one simple truth. No dream, no adventure, and no innovation is worth more than human life.